Well, well, well. I never thought that on the 26th of October I would be going into a game talking about Celtic chasing Hearts. Yet here we are for the match preview, the lineup reaction stream. Tynecastle is the venue, 12 o'clock is the kick-off time. Hearts against Celtic in the Scottish Premiership. Hearts 5 points clear. Today is a big day for Celtic. We either close the gap at the top of the Scottish Premiership and we go within 2 points of the current league leaders, or we go 8 points behind Hearts. I don't think that the significance of today's game has really registered with me. And I think it's because, and let me just be perfectly clear, let me just be candid about things. I don't mean this with any disrespect to Hearts, who, fair play, have been brilliant. I know that there might be a few Hearts fans that come in to watch this. There might be a few Hearts fans that come in later on to see what I said. They deserve every bit of the success they've had so far this season. And they quite rightfully go into today's game looking good and arguably looking like favourites. But I think that there is this delayed reaction from Celtic supporters like myself to the actual significance of potentially falling 8 points behind, because it's not Rangers. It doesn't feel the same way quite yet, because there's that feeling out there that Hearts still need to go and do a job between now and May to actually make it feel serious. But I tell you, if they win today, if they get the job done, and if they get the 3 points, Hearts could be every bit as serious as what their fans seem to think right now, as what the media will probably paint them out to be. And probably as much as we'll think as well, because we'll get all sceptical, we'll get all nervous. So it's a real mouth-watering prospect, today's game. And listen, some people asked for competition in Scottish football. Some people asked for some excitement in Scottish football. There is no better example of competition or excitement in Scottish football than there is at this afternoon's game at Tynecastle Park. So it's a big day. It's a huge day. And of course, Celtic head over here in not the greatest position. We have, you can see the starting 11 on the screen now. We have a worn out, finning Celtic side. I said the joke the other day that it's finning as quick as my hair is. It is. I mean, this is not the ideal Celtic team at all, whatsoever. This is a very, very weird looking Celtic team, and a Celtic team that I think a lot of us are worried about heading to Tynecastle this afternoon. But funnily enough, it's the exact team that I said is probably Brendan Rodgers' best option on my video on Friday, when I painted out the Celtic squad and the Celtic best 11 with all injuries considered. This was the team. And can I just say it right now, for as nervous as I should be, for as worried as I should be, and for as much as this team should probably scare me a little bit, I'm actually feeling sort of weirdly, perversely confident. And I actually think it's a pretty decent side, all things considered. The biggest problems, of course, come in that front three when you've got, Negren out in the right wing, who hasn't been very good outside of his actual goal-scoring statistics. Johnny Kenny, who really struggles to find goals. And Tenekti, who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting without much of the end product. That's where my worries come. But even though we've got Donovan and Murray at the back today, I feel perversely confident about it. The midfield looked back to its best on Wednesday night, and I'm hoping it can stay the same today. This is, by all accounts, a bad Celtic 11 compared to what we should be seeing. We should be seeing a front three with Jota in there, with Maeda in there. We should be seeing a defence with Alistair Johnston and Cameron Carter-Vickers in there. We are missing big players. But I think that because of the narrative that has surrounded Celtic, and because of the weird scope that we're living in right now, I actually think that we could pull something off here today and really change the negatives into positives for a lot of Celtic supporters. It's a big day for this Celtic team. It's a big day for some of these players who really are. I mean, I look at guys like, and I'm just picking somebody out here. I look at somebody like Johnny Kenny, who has been given a huge opportunity in these next few weeks, probably. If he doesn't take the opportunity, you would assume that it could be his last. These are big moments, and hopefully they step up. I think back to Ange Postecoglou's first season, and we were playing teams that You know, we're well below the standard. Remember, Tony Ralston went through a glistening period of form against all odds. I remember we were having to bring up B team players and hope for the best, basically. And yeah, we stumbled, and yeah, we had to rely on late winners, and things weren't great. But what mattered is we played like champions and we won games. And I think, just to kind of summarise my final thoughts on this afternoon, Celtic need to turn up to Tynecastle and show Hearts, who are aspiring Scottish Premiership champions, what champions are made of. They need to show why Celtic have won 4 in a row and have won 14 of the last 15 Scottish Premiership titles. They need to show Hearts why we keep getting the job done even through the toughest of adversities. Today is a big day for a lot of these players. It's a big day for the manager. And hopefully, after Thursday's big win, I'm hoping that we can go in with a bit of momentum and continue that momentum. Am I fully confident Celtic win today? Absolutely not. I would be lying. But I think I feel a lot better placed than what I anticipated I would be. So, the team is on the screen. I'll go through the Hearts team and the bench as well in a minute. Obviously, I'll get to you guys. I want to keep a lot of this chat around what you want to say. We have over 400 live viewers in the chat right now. Thank you for all tuning in on this Sunday morning. I hope you're well. Can I ask just one big favour of you before we keep going? As I've been trying to make these pre-match live streams a regular fixture on the channel this season and want to make them regular, please go down below and hit the like button. The more people that like this video, the more people that will end up with these streams in their algorithm on the recommended page, and these streams can become even better, more fun, more interactive as the season goes on, as people are made aware that they are actually happening. So please go down below, hit that like button. So the Celtic team today is as follows: Kasper Schmeichel in goals, a back four of Colby Donovan, Dane Murray, Liam Scales and Kieran Tierney. The midfield three is Arne Engels, Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate, and the front three is Benji Nygren on the right, Sebastian Tenekte on the left, and Johnny Kenny up front. That is the 11 it is on screen for you. Just to run through the substitutions very, very quickly, which have disappeared for me. Here we are. Vinny Sinsalo, Tony Ralston, Austin Trust. Am I looking at the right bench? I was using ThoughtMob, and now yeah, there we go. I'll get the bench up now. Here we are. Bench for this afternoon. Trusty is there. I was just making sure. Sinisalo, Trusty, Balak, Wisha, McCowan, Shin. Yamada is on the bench. Will we see a glimpse of Yamada today after a lot of people crying out for it? Maybe. Shin, Bernardo, Sirachi, Forrest, and Ralston. That is your team. We'll have a quick look at the Hearts team as well, shall we? Because I think that's probably quite important. Hearts fielding a team of Svolo, Kingsley, Finlay. I went from left to right. That's nonce behaviour, that. Kingsley, Findlay, Halkett, McEntee, Milne, Devlin, Beningame, can never say it, Kaziridis, Shankland and Claudio Braga. That is the Hearts team this afternoon going up against the Celtic team. Ignore ThoughtMob having Engels over on the right wing, by the way. I think we all know that it's not going to be Engels over on the right. It's going to be Benji Nygren over the right, and Engels will be back in the midfield the way he was on Thursday. Yeah, Hearts have been good. Of course, Claudio Braga and on the left wing, I'm not even going to try and say his name a million times through this stream. Kaziridis over in the left. Those are the two guys. They've been great this season, haven't they? I mean, when you watch Sports Scene every week, those two are always up to something. And I think they will be the ones that cause Celtic a lot of problems today. And people will talk about Shankland. Oh, Shankland. Yes, of course, I am also acknowledging Shankland is a problem who, back this season, has looked back to a better version of himself. I thought last year he announced himself as a washed baller, and I thought he was finished. But Shankland is back. He's scoring goals. He knows how to do it. And he always seems to pop up against Celtic as well. So that is a good team out there for Hearts today, but it's the two that I've already mentioned that I'm worried about. Kaziridis and Braga. Those two are the ones for me. And what I think I really worry about, in fact, is what could potentially be done on their left-hand side and our right-hand side. I have the utmost of faith that we'll see a good performance from young Colby Donovan and young Dane Murray. But I tell you right now, they will kick us off the park down that side of the pitch. I think they're going to get tore in. I think they're going to try and rough up Donovan and Murray as much as they possibly can. I think that Dane Murray will handle himself just fine. He's a big lad. I think he's got a lot of physicality. I think he'll be okay. And I think that very quickly into the game, Shankland will learn that just because he's young, he's not going to have the physical advantage that he might think. But I worry for Colby. I do. I think that he's probably going to get kicked about the park a wee bit. I think they're going to try and play in behind him quite a lot and catch him off guard. He needs to be alert today. And hopefully he steps up and has a real good performance, a real reassuring performance in terms of what we want with the future in Colby Donovan. Somebody who has really, really impressed me so far, still has imperfections in his game as a young player, as every young player does. But I think today could be a real making of him if he can handle the occasion. It doesn't help when you're out on that right flank. You know what Tynecastle's like. A really tight surface close to the stands. I mean, the fans are basically on top of you. And Colby Donovan probably hasn't experienced anything like that yet. Yes, he's played in some big games at Celtic Park. Yes, he's been trusted, been brought in the park in big games in Europe. But at Tynecastle, with 20,000 of them on top of you, with basically no Celtic fans there, that's going to be really tough for him out on that right-hand side. And I also think the same will apply to the left-hand side as well. I think that they're probably going to get stuck into Kieran Tierney. Because, let's be real, Kieran Tierney's start to the season hasn't been electric. I think he looked back to a better version of himself on Thursday. But they know he's looking a bit slow. He's looking a little bit, delicate, you could say. And they're probably going to get tore in there. So I think, for me, if we can try and keep the game as narrow as possible, try and keep the game through the middle of the park as much as possible, I think it will benefit Celtic. But I expect, if Hearts say get the opening kick-off, I think that they will honestly get the ball out wide and try and rough up the fullbacks as quickly as possible. Hopefully we can stop that from happening. That is the teams on screen for you. Listen, I'm confident they can get the job done. It's the quality in the final third. I was really impressed with how the midfield played on Thursday. I thought Arne Engels was fantastic, and I'm hoping that he can play to that same level today. I thought that Callum McGregor looked back to his best on Thursday. Once again, can hope he can keep that up today. It's just getting forward. Listen, I'll just be honest about it. Do I think that Johnny Kenny is the ruthless striker that this Celtic team needs to pull them out of rut? No. Do I think that Shin Yamada is the ruthless striker to get this Celtic team out of rut? No. I think that is where my worries come. The ruthlessness, the goal-scoring ability moving forward. We need to take our chances today. If we make as many as we did on Thursday, we should be fine. But I don't think we will make as many as we did on Thursday. I think that we're going to make a limited amount of chances compared to that. And when we get those limited amount of chances, it's about scoring them there and then in the moment. So there is the teams. Let's get talking to you guys. Let's hear what you all have to say about today's game. And let's finish off this stream the next 15 minutes or so. Talking about the big things. The things that matter most. Will Celtic close the gap at the top of that table today? I can confirm, by the way, I see Aaron asking in the chat, yes, Yamada is on the bench. He is there. So get your points in, get your questions in. We'll start with Scotland the Brave saying, Johnny Kenny was good the other night. The young man missed chances, but we can never say he gave up. He didn't let his head drop. I agree with that, 100%. I like the work rate of Kenny. I like the player of Johnny Kenny. I just fear he's not got that goal-scoring ability nailed down for this level quite yet. Maybe when he gets one or two, the confidence will start flowing. But the way I worded it was, see everywhere else on the pitch before he gets between the goalposts look great. And I think the phrase I used the other night is, if he had a brain, he'd be dangerous. And it felt like that on Thursday. I was like, he was doing all the right things, and then it was just, when it came to the final product, it just wasn't there. I remember Ange having to play Adam Montgomery at left wing. We've done a lot better with a lot worse, says Bailey. That's true. That is absolutely true. I mean, I remember going up to Dingwall that day. We won 2-1. Tony Ralston last minute goal. And I think if we look back on what was the starting 11 that day? I'm going to go and find this. Hold on. Ross, County, 1, Celtic, 2. 2020, was that 2021? Yes, it was. Let's see, what was the starting 11 that day? Just for context. And then this is obviously a very different prospect, what we're dealing with today. We're heading away from home to top of the league Hearts. It's not Ross County we're playing. let's see, the Celtic 11 that day at Dingwall was Joe Hart, Carol Starfelt, Vickers, Scales, Ralston, Beat. It's actually not as bad as I remember, but we had Juranovic out at right wing, we had Montgomery at left wing, and Lee Elabada played up front that day. That was the front three. It was Turnbull, McGregor, and Beaton in behind. And that was obviously when Scales was Scales was at left back that day. And I think it was one of his first ever games for the club, really. And then the bench was like Owen Moffat, Ewan Henderson, Liam Shaw, Greg Taylor, Scott Bain, Stephen Welsh, and Tom Rogic. That was what we went to Dingwall with that day. God almighty, I didn't want to remind myself of that. Right, let's get back to the chat. Let's get back to talking about today. Nathan saying an outside the box screamer from one of the midfield lads would help so much today. Listen, what if you've all watched my match reaction from Thursday night? Up until half time, I said this on Thursday, and I'm sorry if you've already watched that video. I don't want to sound like a broken record. But the big difference for me between Celtic and who did we play on Thursday again? It's just slipped my head. Sturm Graz. The big difference between Celtic and Sturm Graz on Thursday for me in that first half was Celtic were the better team. We were creating a lot of chances, but Sturm Graz were willing to take a risk and willing to do things a little bit more. I don't know, it was just a bit of something about them that were willing to take a gamble at times. We just don't have that in our team right now, which is really weird because you go back to this time last year and remember McGregor was scoring screamers from outside the box every week. You know, I just think that we need to be willing to take a gamble a little bit more often because you never know what you're going to get from it. And that's, you know, if we could start taking rather, at first it was so infuriating in that first half watching every one of them act like shite bags and refuse to take the shot. It was always who's playing the last pass. Take a shot. When the space opens up, whether you're in the box or just outside it, just go for it. You know, there's nothing wrong, and I know we're instructed to do different things, but I do believe there is just a nervousness around the players as well right now that they don't want to be the one that takes the shot that goes blazing over the bar. Listen, I'd rather they went for it and failed rather than passed it that much that they didn't go for nothing. So I do agree. I think a goal from outside the box would do wonders for probably the confidence of some players anyway. But we'll wait and see. Got a lot of points coming in, a lot of questions. So apologies if I don't get to you. Just keep your points rolling in, and I'll try and get there as much as possible. I don't think that I'm not on the Hearts can win the league bandwagon. That's the kind of thing that in January or February I think is worth discussing and more seriously. But I'm not going to sit here and say, like, if they go 8 clear, I'm not going to rubbish their chances. Like, they do have a solid opportunity to do it if they go 8 clear today. I think we could all acknowledge that. Rayan saying, wish I had as much confidence as you, Ryan. Really don't have much confidence in that team. Seeing the team just makes me more annoyed about the summer transfer window. Yeah, I can't disagree. Listen, I'm feeling fairly confident. Not overly confident, but fairly confident. But yeah, to just go into the last part, the fact that we are staring at a team with like no right wingers is just unbelievable. And we've put ourselves in this situation where we've got Taneke and Balikwisha both battling for minutes on that left-hand side, and we don't have a right winger. How did we let it happen? You know, I don't want to keep dragging myself back into the failings of the summer transfer window because I want to move on from it until at least January. But oh my goodness. Ryan, is Trusty finished at the club? No, I don't think he is. He is just back from injury. Keep in mind, he was sent home early from international duty with the US national team. I think that if he was fit today, he would probably have started, to be quite honest, if he was, you know, ready to go. I think that there's probably still a precaution around him. But he probably is asking himself questions about his future at the club. The thing is, Trusty, when he's played this season, has looked good to me. He's my Philly boy, you know, go Birds and all that. But I think that he's somebody that between now and January, while Vickers is out, will be able to answer that question a lot more seriously, Gary. I think if we don't see Trusty play a lot between now and January, that could be a real question to ask going into that window, but we'll wait and see. Bailey saying, happy with Engels, still want McGregor and Hatate dropped or rotated, but understand this isn't the game for that. Otherwise, I'm not too angry at the lineup. Just hope they turn up. Happy for the young boys. Well, this is it. You know, how many times do we have fans? And I've seen somebody raising this point just before I went live. It was one of the first comments in the stream chat. And it was somebody basically saying that, like, you know, people greet for young players to get chances in this team. And then there probably is the same people who now see them getting these chances and then go on about the state of the team. Surely you've got to be happy one way or another. We're trying to build players for the future, and these are where you try and make diamonds. Pressure makes diamonds, doesn't it? I have such high hopes, in particular for Dane Murray. If he can stay fit, I really do think we're on to a winner with him. These are the kind of games where he needs to show me that. And he needs to show all of us that. The interesting one, I see a lot of talk in the chat. So I see R. Hay in the chat talking about Simpson Pusey, which is the fact that he isn't involved today is telling. His Celtic career is a non-starter. I don't know what's happened there. I don't know what's going on with Jemai Simpson-Pusey. It must be... Listen, there's not even a point in speculating. If he's not making the bench in a day like this, when you could easily... I think you could... Well, I say it's not even easy to just... Who do you drop from the bench today, in fact, to bring Simpson-Pusey in? You know, I genuinely ask the question because, he's not going to drop, obviously, the keeper. So, Sinsalo's safe. Trusty's ahead of him in the pecking order. He's not going to take Ralston, one of our only backup fullback options out there. He's not going to take Sirachi out. He's not going to take McCowan or Bernardo out. He's not going to take Balikwish out. We need Yamada on there as a backup centre forward. And James Forrest is the only one that you could maybe justify. And even, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, I actually don't know where Simpson-Pusey would get into the team today. But his Celtic career is just never going to happen. He's probably going to get sent back in January. And that's that. But I'm not going to cry about it. I don't care, to be quite honest. I'd much rather see Dane Murray on that pitch, to be quite honest. I'd much rather that. Let's see, what else have we got? Nathan saying really pleased that Rodgers has went brave with Colby and Dane, throw these guys in it. I agree. I mean, there's a world in which he went with Ralston and Murray, or Ralston and Trusty, or Ralston and somebody else. But he's went with Donovan and Murray, and I think that's very, very nice. I like that. I'm a big fan of that, to be fair. Is Yang on the bench? No, actually. Yang is not on the bench. That's a point. I never even considered that. Yang isn't on the bench. A victory for the Yang Gang haters. My God. Didn't even notice that. Iheanacho, is he up to the standards for this league? Not convinced by him yet, says Lewis. I've enjoyed Iheanacho so far. I still think that he's a bit off the pace. I don't think we've got... put it this way. I don't think that any of our strikers are the... If you asked me at the start of the summer who our three strikers should be going into the season, it wouldn't have been any of the three of them. Put it that way. It wouldn't have been any of the three of them. But it's the point in which we're at. So, that's that, to be fair. Yang's better off on the Hearts bench, says Murphy. Must remember, we're a better side than Hearts on paper. We play our best where we win the game. Yeah, it is as simple as that. I can't disagree with Riley on that point in the chat. Do you think Ralston knows his Celtic career is done? No. I don't know what will happen with Ralston moving forward. I think he's probably sitting there, happy for Colby, but knowing that if he keeps up that run of form, that his Celtic career is probably done. But there's no guarantee that Donovan keeps playing the way he's playing. Even I don't think Donovan's been perfect by any stretch, but I think that he's obviously showing really promising signs. So I don't know. It's maybe a bit early for that sort of conversation, but Ralston's had his time. The Yang, as I said, Ethan, I recognise the Yang Gang as a terrorist organisation. I've said it time and time again. By the way, we have almost 800 live viewers in the chat. Thank you for tuning in on this Saturday morning. Please, if you haven't, like and subscribe. Especially hit that like button. Go down and hit that. It helps with the algorithm. It helps with getting people on to these streams in future. And of course, if you want to become a channel member or donate, you can do so using the QR code and the links down below this video. What is Trusty's injury, by the way? I don't know what it is. He's not been playing at all. I think it was a face-related injury. If I remember reading it rightly during the international break, I'm pretty sure it was something to do with his face. Maybe one of your bones in your cheek or something like that. But I wouldn't take that as gospel. I'd need to look that up again. I will be watching Eagles later. Of course I am. Go Birds. Kelly Green Sundays, brother. Come on. Iheanacho, away you go. Iheanacho, away you go. Johnny Kenny scored a goal. Iheanacho, away you go. Oh, good God almighty. Is Bernardo on the bench? Yes, Bernardo is on the bench. He is there. MKS, and if Maida or anyone wants to leave the club, then I'll respect that. If they were honest and always put in 100% with the club, then they can leave on a high. Yeah, I mean, I say that with every player. You know, Celtic isn't the be-all, end-all for all these guys, and I've always understood that. I've tried to make that clear time and time again on this channel. As a young Celtic fan, well, no feeling so young nowadays, but as a younger Celtic fan and understanding that the generation I've been brought in has been about getting players in and selling them on, I think I can understand that pretty well. But as long as they give 100% while they're here until they leave, you know, that's what I want. That's why I've been kind of disappointed by the likes of Maida this season, who I think has been really, really poor. And I'd like to think it isn't because he's chucked it. I just hope it's because it's an actual downturn in form more than anything. But anyway, St Vincent predicting a Kenny double. I hope so. I would love nothing more of it. See if there's this world in which like Johnny Kenny could score a hat trick today. I'd be out getting printed in the back of my top. I wouldn't actually, but I would love it. I would absolutely love it. But Kenny is somebody I'd really like to succeed. There's something that's like just quite romantic about having, and I don't mean to get all Celtic Dalek, but having the ruthless Irish striker, the Robbie Keane of our generation playing for Celtic. I would love that. Whether or not I think you could get that is a different story. But I would absolutely love it, to be quite honest. Is Edouard doing well? I've not been following Edouard, to be fair, but I hope he is doing well. I love Big Oddson, and I wish him the best, of course. Really hope that Engels can kick on after today. Always backed him, think he's a good player, but just lacks the consistency. He's got a lot of credit on Thursday. Hopefully that isn't thrown out the window. Yeah, listen, Rayan, you've been watching me for a long time. You're always in the chats, and you'll know how much I've backed Engels and how big a fan I am of Engels. I really want it to work for him, not just because we've spent £11 million, just because he's got the model of a great player. And if he can find that consistency, I think you're on to a real superstar of a guy there. It's just about consistency. So I hope so. I hope he carries that on today, and it's not one of these. I think Engels' Celtic career has been all about one game up, one game down. We need 2 games up here. We need to keep that going. And I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm really hoping that that's the case. If I ever went on the tour at Celtic Park, I went yesterday for your birthday. It was brilliant. Well, maybe boycotting them! I'm joking. I hope you enjoyed your birthday. That's nice. I have done the tour in the past. I've done it a couple of times when I was younger. But good. And I hope you enjoyed it. And happy belated birthday, Maxie Loves Picnic. Remember, not another penny, though. That's your whack. Right, let's get a few. We're coming up to the half-hour mark. Let's get 5 more minutes or so before I chop off. Anything you want to talk about in today's game? I've not even given a score prediction. I don't really want to give a score prediction. Schmeichel is finished. We need to get Sinisalo in, Ryan. I think that Schmeichel is on a bit of borrowed time as well, to be honest. I'm not quite there at the dropping stage yet, because I still think he does make some big saves, but he's also been making very questionable mistakes. And I've been very vocal about this. As you all know, I've always liked Manchester United, right? I've always, since I was a wee boy, and you know, the difference they've had from bringing in a good goalkeeper, for example, it's different. It makes such a hell of a difference. It's night and day. And listen, I think Schmeichel still is a good keeper, but he's making a lot of concerning mistakes, and I think he's in a bit of borrowed time. But we'll wait till after the game. Thank you, Alistair, for being a member for 13 months. What a legend. Thank you. Need a big performance today. 3 points is all that matters. Listen, I don't care how we get 3 points today. I really don't. Away to Tynecastle when Hearts are flying. This is so difficult today. I would take a 1-0 own goal win. I do not care. I really don't. And I will keep that, unless it's like really bad. But I hope it can't get that bad. If it gets that bad, we don't win. So a win's a win for me. A couple of the Hearts boys you'd be taking a look at. Yeah, I mean, listen, a couple of people around this league I'd be taking a look at in the minute. Hello, Mackenzie, how you doing? No point in ruling it out and acting like there isn't like something to look at there. A few of these players. It's all about if they can keep it up over the course of a full season, of course. We need to be throwing everything at Hearts. Let them get too cocky. Listen, my biggest fear about these games, and it's been the case for years. And I mean, when I say years, I mean since like 2014. Like, this has been the story of the last decade for me. When teams start getting physical with us, when teams start getting rough with us, I feel like we go into their shell a little bit, and it always happens against like Rangers and Hearts. I mean, I think back to when Hearts beats 4-0 at Tynecastle in 2017, whenever it was. Was it 2018? Can't remember now. 4-0 anyway. And they just bullied us. And I remember when they beat us in 2018, Kyle Lafferty scored, I think. It was like the start of the season, August 2018. And they bullied us. We just go into our shell. We kind of go, yeah, even when we had Scott Brown in the fucking team. And I hate it. I don't know why we do it. We need to stand up to these teams and mobs like this. And I'm hoping that that's the case, but we'll wait and see. My score prediction. I'm not even giving a score prediction. I don't want to get clipped after Hearts Twitter, you know. I don't want a score prediction. Right, a couple more before we log off. We are approaching. I mean, half an hour from kickoff. So I want to get settled. I want to get my breakfast, and I want to get ready for the game. What transfer value would you put up on Johnny Kenny? Asking for a friend. What does Fotmob has him at 480 grand? So at 500k, I mean, Celtic apparently rejected bids of around 1 million from Bolton in the summer. So you'd think that Celtic value him at something like 1.5, 2 million quid. I think that's an overestimation, to be honest. But we'll wait and see. Right, okay. On that note, Negranyahu, please, Negranyahu, deliver a game for us. Please. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there today. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Of course, I will be back following the game for the post-match reaction. Big afternoon for Celtic, and I'm hoping that we can come on here to be quite positive and to carry on that momentum from Thursday's game. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as always. I'll see you soon. I'll see you very